Tango Extend is quite simply the simplest way for an enterprise to bring their mobile users into their unified communications estate. Today's UC cloud platforms are great for collaboration. They have very rich facilities for allowing people to work together, to video together, to share documents together. But one of the difficult things to achieve is simply high quality phone calls when you're on your mobile device. It's extremely difficult to keep the quality of a call when made from an app on your phone over the mobile internet into your unified communications platform, to keep that quality high. And that delivers all kinds of bad outcomes. If you can't have a high quality call, you tend not to trust the service that you're being provided, and then you tend not to use it. And so your business loses all those benefits of compliance and control, the rich services that your UC platform provides. So Tango Extend is an eSIM. It's simply downloadable onto your mobile phone, and it maintains the quality and the simplicity of making telephone calls from a mobile phone. I just hit the green button and I'm calling my, my contact. It links that up to the unified communications platform so that I take my phone, I make a phone call, and every call I make is under the control of my Microsoft Teams environment. So you see, cloud-based unified communications is becoming the default way that businesses choose to communicate with their customers. It provides rich services, it provides compliance controls, it allows us to have management oversight into who is calling whom. It allows us to deliver on those important quality factors of customer satisfaction and of a high quality contact between my business and my customers. Tango Extend is one part of ensuring that that whole ecosystem of cloud-based unified communications works and works well. And it brings that critical aspect of mobile telephony directly into the heart of unified communications. So let me introduce you to Charlie Doubek, VP of Managed Collaboration and Communications for our lead partner for Tango Extend, NTT Communications. Charlie.
I think what the pandemic really kind of showed to us is that there's a certain priority set when it comes to communications. So when you're working, you get a call on Teams that has a certain priority set on how you address that in your busy day, especially in executive leadership positions. And then you have a mobile call, you have a fixed line call, or you have a customer calling into a contact center. And all those communication methods are important. And as mobile takes over a lot of those communication methods, as people access contact centers from phones, also you have first line workers using bring your own devices to connect. Is that integration is that key. And you see the vendors like Microsoft launching more and more mobile solutions and their competitors to offer solutions that cater towards mobile first strategy. Some companies are even giving up fixed line in the telco space for the consumer and public market. And so when you have mobility being a key entry point into your company and out of your company, everything needs to be integrated. If you look at the world today within unified communications, if you will, there is a use case for your fixed line. So if you have a signature in Outlook with your details, you have a fixed line and you have a mobile line. And generally, unified communications has been focused on the fixed line. So when you call that number, instead of going into a traditional PBX, it's bringing a Teams environment in Azure, and your desktop phone rings. That is a communication method. Now you have no way to differentiate whether that is just a normal call from someone or if that's a Teams call from a point-to-point call that's happening with a colleague. Then you now have this other use case where you have a mobile number. And that mobile number, when someone dials into that number, you generally, unless you have the contact saved, you don't know if that's a customer calling or if that is someone from home or someone who's looking after your children or a doctor's calling you or something like that. And so you have this kind of mix of use cases today. So the solution to this problem is how can, when you're at work, can you bring that together? And the only way to really truly bring that together is address the native dialer in the phone, right? Because if you're not going to open up the Teams app by itself and then go through the little pad and then try to find your contacts and go through. You have to mimic what's happening in reality. So from a user perspective, I can scan a QR code, which would take my fixed line and move that to my mobile line. And once I've done that and I followed that setup process, now my fixed line becomes my mobile line. So when I'm at work, I'm using the eSIM for my work fixed line. So if someone calls me, I know who it is, all devices are connected, the voicemails are connected, the compliance calling is connected. So from an end user, I'm fixing that sense of priorities that I have. I know that all communication methods have a way into me, and I can identify those communication methods.
If you want to know more about our services, go to our website, which is www.tango-networks.com, and you'll see all about the capabilities of the platform and how you can be part of the next generation of mobile-first collaboration services. Thank you and goodbye.